Hey guys, welcome to 2.0. I'm your host, JR. I am so happy you can join us for another episode. If you're just tuning in, we are getting ready to dive into part two of the interview that we've been having with Willie. So last week we dropped part one, and it was a fantastic interview. If you saw it, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have not had the opportunity to watch it yet, I would invite you to go back and watch the episode from last week before you dive in into part two. And before we go, I'd like you to take a minute to hit the subscribe button if you have not had the opportunity to subscribe to our channel yet. Please go ahead and do so. And we just want to show our gratitude to the 200 subscribers that we have. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your faithfulness to the show. And thank you for all of the words of encouragement and all the positive feedback we've received so far on this channel. So we appreciate you. So don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you are aware when we drop a new video. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's go right into part two of the interview with
You
Willie.
got it, got it. All right, so from 18, you were married, 29, you got divorced, ended up on welfare. Now, the job literally found you, so
Exactly.
that's awesome. So now you started I guess that was the birth of your career, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And for the next, what, couple of years, and that's what you did, and eventually turned that into a business?
Yeah. Well, what happened in the job? I was always very aggressive in what I do. I want to be really, just want to be the best at. I was
Hmm.
the best at drinking. Let me tell you. I was the best at doing
Well, you
everything
started
wrong.
at 7,
Yeah, yeah. I was the
so
best at doing everything wrong, and I could, I turned that around to being the best at doing everything good that I was
yeah,
doing. So,
that's
so my
awesome.
focus was to be the best employee you could ever be for that company. I wanted to give them so much that I would go home and I would work
Hmm.
on their projects for free, just doing whatever I can to make that
Make it
business
work.
better. And it was recognized because there were people coming throughout the country, coming through my training.
Hmm.
They took me out of the building and put me just in teaching. So
Wow.
it started developing my teaching appointment from God, So He
Got it.
would prepare me through that. But I was teaching and I started building on that
Hmm.
and I realized that I'm really good at this. I didn't know that I had these skills. I didn't know I was good electrical. Had no idea. But I realized, I discovered something about myself that God had led me this direction. And by me going in that direction, by being willing to do what God said, instead of going with my dream, but going with God's dream,
Yeah.
then my life started to change. And what happened then was I started getting so good that I had this, I was just having some cereal one morning,
Uh-huh.
and I'm eating the cereal, and something come over me and it says, "You're going to be wealthy. You're going to be successful." And I'm wondering what it is. And I just suddenly just went to my wife and said, I want to start a business. And she said, no. Took her 2 years of praying finally. But then I started the business and it's been
Been booming ever
just
since.
skyrocketing. I mean, I got,
Got it. So yeah, let's take a pause here for the business. We'll come back to the
yeah.
business. But I want to talk about, the other aspect of your life that you overcame as well, because, earlier you mentioned something about a prison sentence.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So what happened there?
Well, the details, I don't want to get into
No,
too
of
much of
course,
that,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
but I was well, there was a second prison. I was in prison at the age of I think it was I was in arrested every weekend, and
Wow.
I was in court every Monday and every
Definitely.
Friday from the age of 16 to the age of 18, and finally they just got tired of me and they put me away.
Mm.
But then when I finished that, I did good for a few years. But then I got into a lot of trouble, and I already had the bad record, and
Yeah.
and so I ended up getting three 15-year sentences,
Wow.
and they were, I was able to get them to go put them concurrently.
Concurrently? Okay.
Yeah, so that helped. So instead of 45 years, it went down to 15 years, and
Wow.
and I pled, I copped a plea, and because of course, they had everything. There was no way I could win. And
Hmm.
if I went to trial, it was I
Yeah,
was
there
going
was
to lose.
no,
I
yeah.
was going to do
Yeah.
what they had, whatever they wanted to give me.
Right.
But anyway, I ended up copping a plea of 5 to 15 years, and God was good because I mean the people that there was I owed a lot of money to people because it,
Mm.
it was drug related,
Oh, wow.
and the people that they had put out a hit for me in the prison,
Oh,
and they had me trapped. There was nothing I
there was
could
no way.
do. They
Yeah.
had me in, and it happened to be a Christian guard that knew what was going on, and they had me surrounded. And it was a visiting room, and I sat in there in the room, and they were only the other guys. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So he called me, pulled me out, and they had locked me up because these guys were going to kill me.
Oh my
And
God.
so what happened? God intervened again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? How the same way God intervened for your brother-in-law, right? When you
Right.
had that plan, he also intervened for you too, while the other inmates were planning, against your life. So
Yeah.
it's amazing. It seems like, throughout your whole life, you can actually go back and pinpoint every time that you can feel that God had his hand on your life,
Absolutely.
you
I
know?
can go through step by step by step and how every single every step of the way when major incidents, when major things happened where my life had to change,
Hmm.
something had to intervene or something bad was going to happen to me,
Right.
God intervened every single time.
That is amazing because this is not something you hear, too often, right? Somebody
Mhm.
who was facing 45-year sentence and being able to, to number one, cop it down to like 15 years, right? And then I think there's another portion to that
Yeah,
because you didn't actually serve any time in
right.
jail, right?
5 to 15 years they gave me.
Yeah.
And I copped out to 5 to 15, and then they had what they call SHR, which is supervised home release. Now, what that meant was the prisons were
Hmm.
overfilled, so they didn't have really a lot of room for me, and they wanted to clear out the jail. So what they said was, if you do 10% of the 5 years,
Yeah.
we will let you do your remainder at home.
In home. Okay.
And so I did my 10%, which out of 5 years was, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 months.
Right.
And then after 7, 8 months, I was remanded to home
Hmm.
and prison home, and that only lasted a few months because I kept going. They said, "Oh, you're doing so good." They took that out. They put me on probation. They put me on parole. Then they put me on probation.
Yeah.
And every time, every step of the way, they just kept saying, "Forget it. No sense you coming back. You're doing what you're supposed to do."
Oh wow. That is amazing.
Yeah,
That is amazing. And the most amazing part is the fact that you were able to stay out of trouble for that, I have
yeah.
never got in trouble with the
Never
law
got in
again,
trouble again since
right?
then.
Because
Yeah,
yeah, because you never know. Because
yeah.
if that was to happen, they would say, you know what, since you misbehaved,
Oh,
let's throw in the
I would have
45
been right.
years.
Yeah, yeah. Never again. Never again since back in 1989 was my last arrest.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's as I said in the beginning of the show, man. This is a powerful testimony, right? Because you can literally see God's hands over your life. From you said you started drinking since you were 7. So
Yeah,
it is amazing that you're you're still alive.
it
So
is. Yeah.
you've overcame alcoholism, you've overcame a prison sentence, you've overcame a divorce, and now you've been happily married, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us about that. How long you
I like the way you use that. Happily, that's good. Because
Well,
marriages are always all happy. They're always perfect.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Isn't that the
just
truth?
love, love, love. No, I mean,
Right.
no, I have been blessed, with a strong wife who God knows what you need, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he gave me the wife that, not the pushover, because a pushover wife would not have worked for me.
Hmm.
And she is not a pushover. She's very strong and strong in the Lord and strong in her opinions. And,
Yeah, I
and
mean, and
so
you said when you told her you wanted to start a business, she said no for 2 years.
2 years. No, 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 no. And the day that she said yes, it
Hmm.
was interesting because I quit my job that day,
Right.
and I was the only income,
Okay.
and I had a mortgage to pay and a house under construction,
Yeah.
and I just said, if God's calling me, I'm gonna go that way. But anyway, back
Hmm.
to the marriage. Yeah, I've been, she's 100% supportive, of everything that we do, everything that I do. She had given up her career
Yeah.
just to support me in my career.
Hmm.
So she stayed home, taking care of the children and being a what do you call it, homeschool with all our
Yeah.
children. So they have a tremendous blessing, not just to me, but to the churches
Mm.
and as well as missions. They're they're just amazing kids. And I don't brag on them because they're mine, but they are mine. Okay,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just because they're mine, because they're
Awesome. So before we dive in more into the relationship itself, so let's take a couple of step back. So after the divorce, you got a job, you started working with them. Now, was it a little scary for you to go back into the dating world and possibly get married again? I mean, what was that process like for you?
yeah. Actually, it was complicated. It was difficult. I was 7 years single,
Hmm.
and so 7 years of being alone, doing things your way, and then
Yeah.
meeting someone who wanted to do things her way, and she was 10 years home as single. So it was difficult for both of us,
Right.
And then she had her children, I had my children.
Hmm.
There was another level of difficulty that's introduced
Right.
into it. Yeah,
One of the things that, like for me, for example, one of the things that I'm dealing with, or it's that, I'm looking at the statistics, right, of first marriage, and that's why I was asking because your first marriage ended up in divorce, and now you're thinking, well, you know what, is it really worth getting married again? Is it going to end up in another divorce, or is it actually going to work out? So it's all those things that sometimes that I wrestle with, when
Yeah.
it comes time to whether or not I want to re-engage in another relationship. So
Yeah.
because you're looking at this, what the statistic for second marriages is like what 70%
Yeah,
end
it's
up in
much
divorce.
much worse.
Yeah.
First of all, the first one is 50%,
Right.
and the second one is 70% of the 50.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's the odds are so piled up against you. Yeah,
Right. Exactly. So that's why I'm wondering, like,
yeah,
what was that thought process for you when it came time to like whether or not you wanted to take the dive again and get
yeah.
married.
I mean, it wasn't like I said. It wasn't easy because first of all, I preferred dating at the time. I just
Okay.
thought this whole thing because somebody gave me some bad story about church and dating, and some brother came
Hmm.
and connected to me and says, "Oh yeah, the pastors hook you up and everything." I was like, I said, "I love this church. I love this church stuff." So I was dating everybody. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that was not the right thing to do.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, so I got straightened out. Pastor Miller came to me and said, "No, no, no, brother Willie, you're not supposed to do
You're not supposed to do
that." Well,
that.
nobody told me.
So,
People,
so you were making your way
yeah, yeah,
down
I
the
was making my way
pews.
through, all over the place. I was all over the place. Yeah, it wasn't good. It was not good,
Right.
but I learned. I really, my mentality has always been one of wanting to be married because that's just what my mother put in me
Hmm.
growing up, and you know, wanting to have a life partner. It
Yeah.
was a desire, a strong desire of mine. And I thought that was the godly thing to do.
Right.
And so all those things factored in, and I know that as a Christian, it was going to be different. The reality it was just as difficult, but the difference was that I had God, and divorce is not an
No.
option.
Yeah.
Although Christians do divorce, that's not an option. We
Hmm.
shouldn't be doing that. But unless someone's getting hurt, that's a
Right.
different story physically. I mean, there's
Hmm.
some, but other than that, no, yeah, it should be a lifetime. And we went through our ups and downs, a
Hmm.
lot of struggles, a lot of struggles. It's not easy. It's actually harder than the first marriage.
Yeah.
Second is always harder.
Yeah.
It was much harder. The
Yeah.
first one was a lot easier.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say, the second one is always is much harder. Um, but I also feel like, the second one gets a better version of each partner, right? So they get us a better version of you,
Yeah.
right? The Willie that was married for the first 11 years of the life is probably not the same Willie that's married now, right? So it's like a better version of that husband
An
per se,
improving version
right?
over the time, because in the beginning there wasn't that much of a difference.
Hmm.
You can be sober yet act like a drunk.
Yeah.
And so you can, you still still made some horrible decisions and did a lot of bad things that even the second wife should have left me day one.
Mm.
And she didn't. But yes, you just get better over time. The thing is, the time, you start to grow. You're growing in the Lord, and you're starting to understand things of the Lord better. And
Yeah.
so then you
Yeah.
start applying them towards your partner, and so you get better over time. You're always improving.
Right.
So,
Right. So it's like, you have a different perspective now of
yeah.
the second one. Okay. And do you feel like it made you more understanding or more accepting or more tolerant of things or
As far as my
the
my
second?
about as far as my wife, I'm more accepting. No, it was tougher. It wasn't. I wasn't more accepting. I wasn't more tolerant because the difference was the first marriage it was more of a submissive marriage
Hmm.
because you're both grown up. Your first marriage is always working out. It's a smoother.
Right.
It's a lot smoother.
Yeah.
The second one, now we're dealing with adults. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons I'm asking if it's, if you find it to you have to be more accepting is because of the fact that you already have one divorce under your belt, right? So you know what? I'm not trying to get a second one.
No,
So
no.
I'm gonna compromise here. I'm gonna be a little more lenient there. I'm gonna be a little more
Well, you
understanding
become
here.
wiser. Yeah, you become
Right.
wiser over time, and,
Right.
and you realize that not. You have to pick your battles, and,
Yeah.
and you have to
Yeah.
say, is it worth? Is this fight worth the separation? Every time I win, and she loses, we
Yeah.
both lost.
Right. Exactly.
And so what good is that? And if she wins and I lose, we both lost.
Yeah.
So now we look for a win-win situation. We look at things differently, and that's helpful, because if we can't both win, then we don't
Yeah.
agree.
We're
You
in
know,
trouble.
then
Yeah.
that gets pushed aside, whatever the situation is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So winning is no longer as important as both of us winning. Not me winning, but both of us winning.
Got it. Got it. All right. So going back to the business. All right. After 2 years of saying no, she finally says yes, and then you go ahead and open the business. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I knew God was leading me, and it was just amazing, because the day that when she said go ahead, I was on the job. I was putting a huge machinery in a company. It was probably $175,000 equipment I was installing,
Wow.
and she said, and I called my wife and I said, I really feel that God wants me to start a business. She said, okay. I was like, I hung up on her. I called my company. I quit.
No way. Really? Right away?
Right instantly. Instantly. I said, I
So
quit.
I'm assuming you already had a plan in place, right?
No, I did
So
not.
no.
No.
Really?
I mean, I did not have a plan. I mean, I didn't have a realistic plan. Let me put it that way. Okay.
But you just quit.
I quit because I knew that God was calling me, and I
Wow.
knew what I was capable of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I knew that, I just did a quick assessment. Okay, this is what I'm worth. Um, I can make what I make in a year within a month or two
Wow.
on my own.
Okay.
So yeah, so I just I knew right away. And what happened was amazing, because even though it's this industry is throughout the world, but throughout this nation here in United States, word gets around fast,
Right.
and people found out that
Yeah.
I was free,
Mm.
and so dealers, the big guys,
Okay.
started calling me.
Gotcha.
Says, can you help me with my, can you help me? And they still, to this day, they're doing that.
Okay.
So I was overloaded with work,
Wow.
and I've been overloaded since.
Right.
I cannot keep up. I can't hire enough. I cannot keep up. I never did an ounce of advertising. Just trust
word
God,
of mouth, yeah.
honor Him with money, honor Him with everything, knowing that it's all His. I'm a steward, and God does the work, and that's
Wow.
what happened.
Wow.
I just was blessed tremendously.
That is awesome. And that's the thing, right? It's amazing to, to hear that you were on welfare, and then now you become like not only you had a career, you quit your job and you became a successful businessman. Now, sometimes we see a lot of people, they struggle to make that transition because what you see sometimes is when they're on welfare, they tend to get comfortable and they stay there for years to come, and they never actually make an effort to get out of there. But to hear your story, it's very inspiring.
Yeah, I was there for 3 months. That was the worst 3 months of my life.
Yeah.
But it was a hand up, not a handout.
That was a hand up.
Yeah, it was a
I
hand
like
up.
that.
And
Yeah.
so it's for
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are enjoying the interview as much as I am enjoying it. Sitting here watching the interview over again, it is truly inspiring. It is truly motivating. So I hope you find it as motivating as I do. So if you find yourself in that situation, if you find yourself that you are struggling, I want you to know that there is hope. And also, if you find yourself to be going through, to be on welfare right now, I just wanted to let you know this is not the end. All right. So make sure you put out a plan. You put together a plan to get out, because this is a temporary solution, but not a permanent position. So remember that. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and send it to one of your friends, or share it on your social media page. And again, thanks for watching. I'm JR. I'll see you next time.